Oh god, here we are. 10 months unemployed, not counting my 3 weeks in fast food. It's starting to make me panic, everyone. I'm bouncing off the walls like the COVIDiots did back during the pandemic, but I think what I'm going to do is just enroll in trade school at some point between Christmas and the New Year. That to me is the most convenient time. I'm going to just pick a course, whatever's available, preferably HVAC, enroll and hope for the best, because the only way I'm getting out of this damn hole is if I find my way into being a trade worker. Speaking of Christmas, I don't know how many of you are celebrating the holidays, whether you celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or whatever have you, but if you decided to celebrate, happy holidays to you. For those that aren't, how's it going? Personally, as you see, I decided to not decorate or do anything because Santa doesn't visit the poor. The most I've decided to do was buy some eggnog and some milk and cookies. I'll use a portion of what little money I have left to buy Skyrim, so that way I can be kept occupied for another year, while I wait for retail employers to get back to me regarding my applications. Even though once I get a job, I'll barely be able to afford those coal candies, because it'll probably be some dead-end minimum wage shit that I dread waking up for. But maybe my luck will turn around in time for 2023, and I'll get a job that's more than just entry-level slave labor. My last video of this nature did better than I expected. Honestly, once I finished the video and watched it, I had a bad feeling that people would think I was justifying my actions. Admittedly, the video was made in more of an emotional state than a logical state, but I'm glad to see people don't blame me for letting myself slip up. After all, we all play the fool sometimes, right? I'm going to talk more about Braum's, but today I do want to raise awareness for Starbucks workers. In particular, I want to shoot on a video made by a YouTuber by the name of Xenoshot, the supposed moist critical clone, that apparently is the new Leafy is here, when Leafy used to do videos picking on people. Except Xenoshot keeps his shit off of YouTube. Xenoshot gets his material from TikTok. TikTok does have a lot of cringy shit, obviously, but I don't know if it was just a slow day on Thanksgiving, or if he made a commentary on this video just because it was on TikTok.
And today we have a video of this person right here who posted one of the most embarrassing things I've seen in a while.
The only thing I really find embarrassing about this is that the guy in this video is filming himself cry in public. If I felt this emotional after a huge wave of rude customers, after which I felt the need to film about it, I'd go to my car. I've never filmed in public, let alone on the job. I think this guy could have chosen a better setting and a better mindset to film in. With that said, what the guy in the video did is nothing new. How many times have we seen Starbucks workers hit social media on the verge of breaking down after having stormed out or walked into the back? It was not made clear if the gentleman in Xenoshot's video was some spoiled rich kid that thought working at a place like Starbucks would be a cakewalk. It wasn't made clear if this guy was some dickhole for a manager that actually had to work for once. It is in fact alluded that this guy is a college student. As someone who has worked in public service, I know what the guy in this video is feeling. For someone that has worked in public service before, I expected better from the likes of Xenoshot. Xenoshot made a name for himself during the pandemic by making fun of Karens, and he has released gems in recent memory talking about people trying to get more child support money from their spouses so they can take extra trips to the salon. Xenoshot has shot on celebrity worship in the past, but Xenoshot has effectively outed himself as a fake with this video. The guy was just Karened by multiple people, overworked, and screwed over because his boss didn't want to work Thanksgiving, leaving the Starbucks location this guy works at understaffed. Pathetic. I guess you either die fighting the Karens or live long enough to see yourself become one. Either that or Xenoshot loves his Starbucks just a little too much. So much so that he would cast aside the complaints of Starbucks workers as nothing more than a bid for attention. The complaints presented by the worker in the video alone are valid. Rude customers and corrupt leadership. Since when did this not constitute a shitty job? Or are we playing the game of we all have jobs that we don't like, you're just gonna have to grow up and get used to it? A piece of advice my father gave me and my brother recently was, if something is causing you misery, cut it out of your life. And I've been using that advice, which is why I want to say no one is obligated to work in some miserable, low-paying job, especially in the world of food service. Though I guess Starbucks is technically drink service, but you get my point. No one should have to work a job that they don't like. The kid in this video is taking steps to prevent living a life of miserable wage slavery. The big mistake he's making, though, is going to college, because he's going to be paying tuition for the next 30 years once he's done. And not everyone that graduates from college gets a good job. There are people with degrees that are flipping burgers at McDonald's. And I'll get more into how useless our education is in a bit, but people need to start making it a trend to go to trade school. Rather than go to college, a trade is a skill that you can take anywhere you want, and trade workers get paid good money compared to high school graduates. That is the only reason I'm doing this, to expand my opportunities, because right now they are extremely limited, and to some of the worst jobs out there, if not non-existent. Nobody asked for that life. Nobody wants to work a shitty job, so don't. If anything, use it to hold you up through school, but make it as temporary as possible. Then there are the people that say, if you don't like your job, why don't you just quit? The main reason people don't just quit their miserable job is because they can't find a better job, or they can't find a different job, regardless if it's better or worse. And if they quit, they're going to lose their income. I unfortunately was fired in that kind of job market after lack of communication from my supervisors regarding my schedule. I was fired from Braum's after they realized that I was a human with a finite amount of energy and patience. So you can understand why I support unionization for clerks, waiters, baristas, and all that jazz. Especially when the head nincompoop in charge literally just posts a new schedule for Thanksgiving week to where they don't have to work the holiday. Public service workers are paid horribly despite apparently being just as important as emergency services because they're working Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, fucking Labor Day. The people working in places like Starbucks, Walmart, and the store I used to work at already have enough grace to show up and not call in when they'd rather spend the day with family. If it were up to me, food service workers wouldn't need to worry about working the holidays because the place would be fucking closed, as it should be. Retail workers would be getting a great big bonus for working the holidays, but if no one wanted to work, then the store would stay closed for the day. The first time Camelot 331 got to attend Thanksgiving with his family after years and years of GameStop forcing him to work, his grandparents had died that year. That just goes to show that you never know what people are going through. The guy that Xenoshot shat on might have had someone close pass away only to be attacked by a slew of Karens and made fun of in front of 250,000 people for having a moment of weakness. But it's not like rude customers and corrupt management are the only things weighing Starbucks workers down in particular. Some workers are being stressed out to the point that they develop aneurysms in their sleep and die within a week. There was a woman that became manager at a Starbucks location at 24 years old and died because of an aneurysm presumably caused by immense stress. 24! I'm turning 23 next month. The woman tried to make changes, but her superiors would not hear it. So I don't think it's a matter of she was far too young for management. It's a matter of she wasn't being taken seriously by her bosses, and the people above her wanted to keep the workplace as disorganized and as stressful as they could. Would the same thing have happened to me? Would I be dead right now because of the stress of holding the fort alone with customers piling in to the point that I can't even cook? It kinda sounds like I dodged a bullet getting fired from Braum's. Another thing that the women working at Starbucks deal with is egregious sexual harassment. And unfortunately, it isn't just college students that are harassed, but high school students, minors, as well, and often by men that are much older than they are. Sometimes they are even followed home. Unwanted physical contact, which can either be intimate or painful. One disturbing case in particular that I heard of, this might have been a different place other than Starbucks, but it still has to do with public service, was a guy squeezing on a bruise on a female worker's arm, asking her if it hurt, telling her that he would take her home and give her more, because I guess the guy had a fetish for fucking domestic abuse. And trust me, I wish I were kidding. Camelot 331 uncovers a lot of the terrible things that public service workers go through, and some of it is truly appalling. We need more people like Camelot so that the working class can have a voice. Some Starbucks workers witness their co-workers injure themselves and break their arm, thinking how lucky they don't have to go to work. You know it's an issue when the people working would rather be hurt than work. But it seems like they won't even get mercy there. Some Starbucks managers have decided to not let their subordinates call off for any reason, meaning that even if they're sick or hurt, or the weather's bad, or if the fucking apocalypse is happening before them, they have to show up for work or they get fired. Starbucks managers think that they are above the law. No, when a worker calls off, they're not asking if they can have the day off, they're letting you know that they won't be able to show up for their shift. Dangling their job over their head is just going to be what pushes them to tell you the two words they probably wanted to tell you since they started, which is, I quit. Strong-arming your associates can only backfire, because that is how you lose good employees. And for the love of Odin, I need to stress, don't make your fucking workers work while sick. You shouldn't make your people work regardless when they tell you they can't make it. But workers need to be sent home if they turn up sick. When you make people work when they're sick, you run the risk of getting the rest of your workforce sick, you run the risk of getting exposed to the illness yourself, and you run the risk of getting customers sick. Making people work when they're sick is just boneheaded, even from a capitalist perspective. If that's not enough, Starbucks managers have justified firing pro-union employees by accusing them of kidnapping and assault, and sicking the police on picketing employees. At what point do we stop shutting Starbucks employees down as entitled brats and start eyeing Starbucks leadership? Would Starbucks employees go as far as picketing and walking out if it was just a job? Even from the standpoint of, sure, the job sucks. We have seen our parents and grandparents throw their lives away for these kinds of companies and work entry-level jobs for so long that new employees start at a higher pay rate than they're at right now. There's no room for advancement in these places, and the work is unfulfilling on its own. Pile on top of that, the rude, sometimes violent customers, treacherous leadership, unrealistic expectations, and abhorrent working conditions. So I absolutely think Starbucks, and all public service employees for that matter, should unionize. The company likely doesn't pay the medical bills of workers who are injured on the job. The managers have absolutely no respect for their workers and are corrupt. The people in charge of staffing have absolutely no idea what they're doing. People are forced to work when they're sick and or hurt. The workplaces are disorganized and understaffed, and the workers are overworked and constantly stressed out. If you're working at Starbucks, unionize right now. Vote for unionization regardless of whatever threats are lobbed at you from management. If your bosses and higher-ups are trying to prevent you from unionizing, it means that they don't care about what what you want. They only care about the money, and right now they are squeezing every last drop of surplus value out of you. They are making you work as hard as possible for as little money as possible. Starbucks needs to take responsibility for on-the-job injuries, and they need to take responsibility in general, or they're going to be the next GameStop. They are the poster children for the labor shortage. People don't want to work at Starbucks because they're basically Amazon but for coffee in terms of working conditions. Their current business model is failing, and employee morale reflects this. Moving on to something that, quite frankly, is bugging the hell out of me regarding my current situation. I'm at a point where I don't even know if I'll even be able to do what I want to do for Christmas. I just want to get to a point where I can afford to buy Skyrim and Stellaris, but I am so fucking far off. We've been able to get off paying rent for much of this year, and we have food stamps, but it appears that that shit might be disappearing come the new year, and I have no idea what the hell I'm going to do to help my father in terms of our financial situation. I am so fucking lost. My dad got promoted to management in his new job recently, but it ain't going to add up to shit. You know, he originally moved us back here to begin with because he was afraid that the exorbitant cost of living in Oregon would send us into homelessness within months, but moving back here has only delayed the inevitable, it seems. I'm surprised more people aren't living in tents by the river here, as shelter over time has become something that only the middle class and up can afford. The main reason I stepped away from my minimum wage deli job was so I could start making more money working at Walmart, because a year ago he had surgery on his shoulder. Maybe that's where I fucked up, but I've taken steps to secure a stocking job back at my old job once a position opens up. But what I don't understand is everywhere else I apply to. First, the casino in Oklahoma that I applied to denied to interview me for 3 different positions that I applied for. I assumed maybe it was because I live in Kansas and gambling is illegal here, which is stupid in my opinion, because oftentimes poor people turn to gambling in hopes that they win big, and finally find some money with which they can afford to keep fed, sheltered, and clean. But like sex work, people wouldn't need to gamble under socialism, but I digress. First I got rejected by the casino, then I got fucking rejected by the manufacturing facility. I applied to be a janitor at both places. Since then I've applied for jobs at places that are hurting for associates, retail companies. I've applied for housekeeping at the health center and at a hotel here in town. Here's what pisses me off though. I have a high school diploma, my attendance record isn't that bad, I don't have a criminal record, I'm still young, and yet I can't even find a job scrubbing shit off of bathroom walls. Meanwhile, there are people that dropped out, maybe they have a GED, they've been convicted of drug felonies, and yet they're fucking managers in fast food. How the fuck does that happen? How is it that I have followed the rules of society my whole life and I'm below former convicts? You would think that in the system we live under, I would benefit from not having a criminal record, yet somehow I am worse off than felons. This is the first Christmas that my family is having shit taken from us. Our home, our food stamps, how are we going to eat? How do they expect us to survive like this? What do I need to do to get a fucking job around here? Is a criminal record the equivalent to a college degree in this town? Do I need to be busted for drugs? Should I become a drug dealer? How are people in this town getting hired? Do I need to just hijack a store and force them to hire me? Or is this system just rigged against me and my family in particular? I get fired once and it's the end of the goddamn world, but no one bats an eye if you do a stint in the penitentiary. Things are looking bleaker than ever for me, ladies and gentlemen. Wish the best for me. Hopefully things turn around soon. Maybe I can get a good job offer for Christmas. That would make me happier than anything. What would also make me happy is if you subscribed. At 1,000 subscribers, I will begin accepting financial contributions through Patreon. So if you subscribe to me, then donated once I announce my Patreon, every little bit would help me in these trying times. I'll be doing a huge special for 1,000 subscribers, which is a reaction to Everywhere at the End of Time by The Caretaker. So if that's something you think you would be interested in seeing, please do subscribe, and hit the bell to get notified when that comes out. By the time you guys see this, I should just about be done producing that, if not already done. I'm still hoping that things will be much better in the next 4 months, but employers seem to not be willing to answer phone calls when I check on my application, let alone reach out to me. It's depressing, because sometimes I think the best thing I can do for my family is eat a shotgun shell, and be one less mouth to feed. Nothing is sacred in this world. The elite really would shoot their own damn family in the foot, member by member, if it meant they could turn a profit. Everything you hear about the ruling class is true. This Christmas, they are the Grinch. They're not just coming for our guns, they're coming for everything we own. And if we don't work together and rise up against this toxic living environment, soon they will even be after our lives. Let's make 2023 the year, ladies and gentlemen. We have nothing to lose but our chains. With that, I'm going to go on ahead and sign off. Ladies and gentlemen, please be sure to click thumbs up if you like the video, share it far and wide, leave your thoughts in the comments below, any horror stories from those that work or have worked in Starbucks or any other public service job, horror stories from unemployment, let's hear it. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon, hopefully for the next video. Bye guys.